Something unexpected is happening in America. A few gemstones are attracting attention far faster than anyone predicted. Others have remained desirable for generations, refusing to disappear no matter how much the market changes. At first glance, this may seem like a story about jewelry. It isn't, because the gemstones Americans are obsessed with right now reveal something much bigger. They reveal what people are searching for, what they value, what they fear missing, and what they believe makes something truly worth owning. Some of the stones on this list were once overlooked, some seem almost impossible, and one has survived centuries of changing tastes to remain just as captivating today. By the end of this countdown, the biggest surprise won't be which gemstone ranks number one. It will be understanding why these stones are rising while others quietly fade into the background. The first clue begins with a gemstone that is helping thousands of buyers rethink one of luxury's oldest traditions. Number 10. Morganite. The shift did not begin with a scandal, a record-breaking auction, or a gemstone suddenly appearing on every red carpet. It began more quietly, inside jewelry stores, online boutiques, and engagement ring searches across America. For decades, luxury followed a familiar script: a clear diamond, a classic setting, a price tag that told the world the buyer had chosen correctly. But Morganite entered the conversation with a different kind of power. It did not try to look like a diamond. That is exactly why it started to matter. Morganite carries a soft peach-pink glow, often described as warm, romantic, and understated. Under natural light, it can appear almost like sunrise trapped inside crystal. Not loud, not aggressive, not trying to dominate the hand. Instead, it offers something many modern buyers are beginning to value more than tradition itself: personal taste. This is where the obsession becomes more interesting than the gemstone. Morganite represents a quiet rebellion against the idea that luxury must be approved by everyone else. For many Americans, especially younger couples and style-conscious buyers, the question is no longer, what is the most traditional choice? The question is, what feels like mine? That emotional shift is powerful. A diamond often carries expectation. Morganite carries selection. It suggests that the buyer is not simply following a rule passed down through generations, but choosing a stone based on color, mood, personality, and story. In a culture where people customize everything from homes to phones to personal brands, even jewelry has become part of identity. There is also a visual reason Morganite performs so well in modern jewelry culture. Its pastel tone photographs beautifully. It pairs naturally with rose gold. It feels soft enough for everyday wear, yet distinct enough to stand apart from standard bridal jewelry. On camera, it gives warmth. On the hand, it feels personal. But Morganite's rise is not only about beauty. Many gemstones are beautiful. Its deeper appeal comes from what it allows people to reject. It lets buyers step away from the pressure of choosing the expected stone without abandoning elegance. It gives them a gemstone that feels romantic, modern, and emotionally specific. That is why Morganite belongs on this list, not because it replaced the diamond completely, but because it exposed something bigger. America's obsession with gemstones is no longer only about status. It is becoming about self-definition. And once buyers begin rejecting old luxury rules, the next obsession becomes even more revealing. Gemstones that do not just look beautiful, but make people feel calm in a world that rarely slows down. Number 9. Aquamarine. Not every obsession begins with excitement. Some begin with exhaustion. Across the United States, millions of people spend their days surrounded by alerts, headlines, notifications, deadlines, and endless streams of information competing for attention. The modern world moves faster than ever, yet one of the strongest forces shaping consumer behavior today is the desire to slow it down. That trend helps explain why Aquamarine has quietly become one of America's most beloved gemstones. At first glance, the appeal seems obvious. Aquamarine displays a clean blue color that ranges from pale sky tones to deeper shades resembling tropical water. Its name comes from the Latin words for water of the sea, and for centuries it has been associated with sailors, travel, and calm horizons. But the real story goes much deeper than color. Aquamarine has become part of a larger cultural shift in which people increasingly seek objects that create emotional experiences rather than simply demonstrate wealth. In previous generations, luxury often centered on visibility. The goal was to own something impressive enough for others to notice. Today, many buyers are searching for something different. They want objects that make them feel something. This change appears across multiple industries. Homes are designed around comfort. Travel is marketed around wellness. Even technology companies now promote focus, balance, and digital well-being. Jewelry has followed the same path. Aquamarine fits perfectly into that movement. Unlike gemstones known for dramatic flashes of color or overwhelming brilliance, aquamarine creates a different reaction. Its appearance feels open, breathable, and peaceful. Looking into a well-cut stone often resembles staring into clear water rather than polished luxury. That emotional response matters. In gemstone markets, beauty attracts attention. Emotion creates attachment. Collectors frequently describe aquamarine using words rarely associated with status symbols: calming, refreshing, peaceful, and comforting. Those descriptions reveal something important about current American tastes. People are not always chasing intensity. Sometimes they are searching for relief. The fascination with aquamarine is ultimately a reflection of what many people feel they lack most: space, quiet, a moment of stillness. That may sound surprising for a gemstone, but the most successful gemstones often succeed because they symbolize something larger than themselves. Aquamarine has become a visual reminder of escape in a culture constantly connected to everything. Yet emotional comfort is only one side of the story, because while some Americans are searching for calm, others are chasing the exact opposite. They are looking for something unpredictable, impossible to duplicate, and different every single time they see it. Number 8. Black opal. Imagine walking into a room filled with 100 identical luxury watches. Now imagine seeing a single object that has never existed before and will never exist again. Most people already know which one they would remember. That instinct helps explain one of the most fascinating shifts happening in America's gemstone culture today. For years, luxury markets rewarded consistency. Buyers wanted products that looked exactly like the advertisement. The closer an item matched expectations, the more desirable it became. But something has changed. Increasingly, consumers are becoming drawn to experiences that feel unique rather than standardized. They want homes that reflect personality. They want vacations that cannot be replicated. They want collections that feel individual. And increasingly, they want gemstones that refuse to look like everyone else's. Few gemstones embody that desire better than black opal. Unlike many gems that present a stable appearance, black opal behaves almost like a living visual phenomenon. A slight movement of the hand can reveal flashes of electric blue, fiery red, emerald green, violet, gold, or colors that seem impossible to describe. Shift the angle again, and the entire display changes. No photograph can fully capture it. No two stones perform exactly the same. That detail is more important than it might appear. The growing popularity of black opal reflects a broader psychological trend known as novelty seeking. Human attention is naturally drawn toward things that break patterns. The brain quickly adapts to repetition. Familiarity becomes background noise. Unpredictability creates fascination. Black opal delivers unpredictability every time it is viewed. Collectors often spend years searching for a particular combination of color, pattern, and movement because each stone creates its own visual identity. Some display broad flashes of color. Others reveal tiny pinpoints resembling distant galaxies. Some appear almost cosmic, while others resemble lightning trapped beneath glass. That individuality has become increasingly valuable in a culture saturated with mass production. The appeal is no longer simply ownership, it is exclusivity through uniqueness. Not exclusivity because something is expensive. Exclusivity because something cannot be duplicated. That distinction matters. Many luxury purchases communicate wealth. Black opal communicates individuality. It suggests that the owner values discovery over conformity and rarity over predictability. In many ways, the gemstone has become a symbol of a larger cultural movement. Americans are increasingly rejecting the idea that value comes from owning the same things everyone else wants. Instead, value comes from finding something nobody else has. Yet even uniqueness has limits, because there is one force capable of creating obsession faster than beauty, faster than individuality, and sometimes even faster than rarity: the fear that an opportunity may disappear forever. Number 7. Tanzanite. Nothing accelerates desire quite like a deadline. A luxury item can sit unnoticed for years. A collectible can attract little attention. A gemstone can remain relatively unknown. But the moment people begin to believe that something may not be available forever, behavior changes dramatically. Interest becomes urgency. Curiosity becomes action. And attention becomes obsession. That psychological shift sits at the heart of one of America's fastest-growing gemstone fascinations: Tanzanite. Unlike most gemstones found across multiple regions of the world, Tanzanite comes from an extraordinarily small area near Mount Kilimanjaro in Tanzania. Geologically speaking, its origin is remarkably concentrated. For decades, this fact remained an interesting piece of gemological trivia. Today, it has become part of a much larger story. Modern consumers live in a world filled with unlimited choice. Nearly everything can be reordered, restocked, downloaded, streamed, or delivered. Scarcity has become increasingly rare in everyday life. Ironically, that makes genuine scarcity more powerful than ever. When buyers encounter something that cannot simply be reproduced elsewhere, it triggers a different emotional response. The conversation shifts from "do I like this?" to "will this still be available later?" That question changes everything. Tanzanite's striking blue-violet color certainly contributes to its appeal. Under different lighting conditions, flashes of violet, sapphire blue, and subtle burgundy tones can emerge. Its beauty is undeniable, but beauty alone does not explain the level of attention it receives. The stronger force is anticipation. Collectors, jewelry enthusiasts, and casual buyers alike are drawn to the idea that Tanzanite represents a finite opportunity. Whether that perception is discussed in auctions, retail environments, or collector communities, the emotional effect remains the same. People pay closer attention when they believe a window may eventually close. This phenomenon appears throughout history: limited editions, retiring products, historic artifacts, rare collectibles. The possibility of future absence often increases present value. Tanzanite has become one of the gemstone world's clearest examples of that principle. Its popularity reveals something important about modern American consumer psychology. People do not simply want beautiful objects. They want confidence that they recognize something important before everyone else did. That feeling creates a powerful emotional reward. Not ownership alone, timing, being early, being aware, being present before the opportunity feels obvious. Yet some of the strongest obsessions are not built on scarcity at all. Sometimes they emerge from something even more satisfying: discovering value that has been hiding in plain sight for years while almost everyone else overlooked it. Number 6. Spinel. History is filled with famous names that were never supposed to be famous, and it is equally filled with overlooked contenders that spent centuries hidden in someone else's shadow. Spinel belongs firmly in the second category. For generations, some of the world's most celebrated gemstones attracted admiration, headlines, and prestige. Meanwhile, Spinel quietly sat nearby, often mistaken for something else entirely. In fact, several famous gemstones displayed in royal collections were later discovered to be Spinel rather than the gems people originally believed them to be. That detail alone would make for an interesting historical footnote. But today's fascination with Spinel has very little to do with history. It has everything to do with human psychology. One of the strongest status signals in modern culture is no longer ownership. It is knowledge. In previous generations, status often came from possessing something expensive that everyone recognized. Today, status increasingly comes from recognizing something valuable before everyone else does. The difference is subtle but important. A widely known luxury item communicates purchasing power. A hidden luxury communicates expertise. That shift has transformed the appeal of gemstones like Spinel. Collectors and enthusiasts are becoming more educated than ever. Information travels instantly. Research that once required specialized books can now be accessed in minutes. As a result, many buyers are moving beyond familiar names and exploring stones that offer compelling stories, exceptional beauty, and genuine rarity without carrying the same level of mainstream attention. Spinel fits that role almost perfectly. Its colors can range from vivid reds and vibrant pinks to blues, purples, and silvery grays. Some specimens rival the visual beauty of far more famous gemstones. Yet for years, many consumers simply overlooked it because it lacked the recognition associated with traditional luxury categories. Ironically, that is now part of its appeal. Knowing about Spinel creates a feeling many modern collectors actively seek. Discovery. The satisfaction does not come from following a trend. It comes from identifying value before it becomes obvious. That emotional reward appears across countless markets. Music fans enjoy discovering artists before they become famous. Investors search for opportunities before the crowd arrives. Travelers seek destinations before they become overcrowded. Gemstone enthusiasts are no different. The growing obsession with Spinel reflects a broader cultural movement toward insider knowledge. People increasingly admire expertise, research, and informed decision-making. They want stories that separate them from the crowd rather than connect them to it. Spinel represents that mindset beautifully, not because it was forgotten, but because it was finally noticed. Yet even the thrill of discovering hidden value eventually leads to another question. Once people stop following tradition and start seeking individuality, how do they choose a gemstone that feels uniquely their own? Number 5. Tourmaline. Ask 10 people to describe their ideal gemstone, and 10 years ago, many of the answers would have sounded surprisingly similar. Today, that is no longer true. Something fundamental has changed in the way people make choices. The shift extends far beyond jewelry. It appears in fashion, home design, vehicles, travel, and even social media profiles. Increasingly, consumers are moving away from standardized definitions of success and toward something far more personal. Individual identity. The question is no longer, what should someone choose? The question has become, what feels most like me? That transformation helps explain why tourmaline has become one of the most fascinating gemstone obsessions in America. Unlike many famous gemstones that are associated with a single color, tourmaline seems almost unwilling to follow rules. It appears in vivid greens, electric blues, deep reds, soft pinks, golden yellows, and even extraordinary multicolored crystals where several shades exist within a single stone. Some specimens look as though nature could not decide on one identity and chose several instead. That diversity is not merely a geological curiosity. It is the foundation of tourmaline's cultural appeal. For generations, jewelry trends often encouraged conformity. Certain stones were considered appropriate for certain occasions. Certain colors dominated specific markets. Certain choices carried social expectations. Modern consumers increasingly resist those expectations. Rather than fitting into predefined categories, many buyers actively search for objects that communicate individuality. They want pieces that feel personal rather than prescribed. Tourmaline excels in that environment because it offers an unusually wide range of possibilities. Two people can choose tourmaline for completely different reasons and end up with gemstones that share almost nothing visually. One buyer may prefer a deep forest green stone that reflects a connection to nature. Another may choose a vivid pink specimen that feels energetic and expressive. Someone else may be drawn to a rare bicolor crystal because its uniqueness mirrors a desire to stand apart. There is no single tourmaline story. That is precisely the point. Its growing popularity reveals something important about contemporary American culture. People increasingly value personalization over uniformity. They want their choices to communicate character rather than compliance. In many ways, tourmaline has become a gemstone symbol of that movement, not because it tells people who to be, because it allows them to decide for themselves. And as identity becomes more important, another factor begins to gain influence as well. People no longer care only about what they buy. They care about where it comes from, who discovered it, and whether its story feels authentic. That search for authenticity leads directly to one of the most uniquely American gemstone obsessions on this list. Number 4. Montana Sapphire. A simple question has become surprisingly important in modern luxury. Where did it come from? Not long ago, many consumers focused almost entirely on appearance. If something looked beautiful, felt exclusive, and carried the right reputation, that was often enough. Today, the story behind an object can be just as important as the object itself. Food buyers want to know where ingredients were grown. Travelers want authentic local experiences. Collectors want documented histories. And gemstone buyers increasingly want to understand the journey before a stone ever reaches a jewelry box. That shift has created one of the most interesting trends in the American gemstone market: the growing fascination with Montana sapphire. Unlike sapphires associated with distant mining regions across the world, Montana sapphires offer something that resonates deeply with many American consumers: a local story. Found in the rivers and mining regions of Montana, these sapphires carry a connection to American landscapes, American mining history, and American craftsmanship. That connection has become a powerful part of their appeal. But the real story is larger than geography. It is about authenticity. Modern consumers live in an age where products can be manufactured anywhere, marketed everywhere, and copied almost instantly. As a result, many people place increasing value on traceable origins and genuine stories. They want confidence that something is real, not simply expensive, not simply fashionable, real. Montana sapphire represents that desire exceptionally well. Its colors range from classic blues to subtle greens, teals, and steel gray tones. Some specimens display hues that feel uniquely tied to the rugged landscapes from which they emerged. They often possess a character distinct from the more traditional sapphire image many buyers expect. That individuality strengthens the connection between gemstone and place. For many collectors, ownership becomes about more than color or rarity. It becomes about narrative. A Montana sapphire is not just a gemstone, it is a piece of a landscape, a piece of a region, a piece of a story that can be traced and understood. That concept aligns perfectly with a broader cultural movement. Increasingly, Americans are rewarding authenticity over abstraction. They want purchases that feel connected to real people, real places, and real histories. The obsession with Montana sapphire reveals how powerful that desire has become. Luxury is no longer defined only by what something is. It is increasingly defined by where it comes from. And yet, even the most authentic stories remain grounded in reality. The next gemstone on this list captures attention for a completely different reason. Its appeal comes from something that seems to challenge reality itself. A gemstone so unusual that the first encounter often feels less like geology and more like witnessing a magic trick performed by nature. Number 3. Alexandrite. Every generation believes it has seen everything. Technology advances. Knowledge expands. Mysteries are explained. The unknown seems to shrink year after year, and then something appears that reminds people how easily wonder can return. For many gemstone enthusiasts, that moment happens the first time they encounter Alexandrite. At first glance, it seems straightforward enough. Under daylight, an Alexandrite may display shades of green, bluish-green, or teal, but place the same stone under warm indoor lighting and something remarkable begins to happen. The color changes. Green becomes red, blue-green becomes purple-red. The gemstone appears to transform before the observer's eyes. Even when the science behind the phenomenon is fully understood, the experience still feels surprising. That reaction reveals one of the most enduring aspects of human psychology. People never outgrow wonder. In an age dominated by screens, algorithms, and instant access to information, experiences capable of producing genuine amazement have become increasingly valuable. The modern world offers convenience everywhere, but moments of awe remain relatively rare. When they appear, attention follows. That helps explain why Alexandrite continues to captivate Americans despite competition from countless other gemstones. Its appeal extends far beyond rarity or beauty. The deeper attraction comes from contradiction. Human beings are naturally fascinated by things that challenge expectations. A stone should not appear green one moment and red the next. The brain immediately recognizes a conflict between what it expects and what it observes. That tension creates fascination. Magicians understand it. Storytellers understand it, and nature occasionally creates its own version. Alexandrite is one of those rare examples. Collectors often describe their first encounter with a high-quality Alexandrite in language normally reserved for unusual experiences rather than objects. The stone feels interactive. It rewards observation. It changes depending on the environment, creating the impression that it possesses multiple personalities hidden within a single crystal. That characteristic makes it unusually memorable. Many gemstones are admired. Few gemstones are experienced. Alexandrite belongs in the second category. Its growing popularity also reveals something important about modern American culture. Despite endless technological progress, people continue searching for experiences that spark curiosity and reignite a sense of discovery. The desire to be surprised remains deeply human. In many ways, Alexandrite succeeds because it briefly restores something adulthood often reduces: a sense of wonder. The feeling that reality may still contain a few secrets. But while wonder attracts attention, another force often determines which gemstones reach the highest levels of modern obsession: prestige. And in today's market, prestige is increasingly being defined by something far more powerful than fame: extreme rarity. Number 2. Paraíba Tourmaline. There was a time when prestige was easy to recognize: a larger house, a luxury car, a famous brand name. The signals were obvious because they were designed to be obvious. But modern status works differently. In many circles, the most powerful status symbols are no longer the most visible ones. They are the ones understood only by a relatively small group of people. Recognition has become selective. Knowledge has become valuable, and rarity has become a language of its own. Few gemstones illustrate that shift better than Paraíba Tourmaline. The first encounter with a fine Paraíba often feels almost unnatural. Its color seems too intense to belong to the natural world. Electric blues, neon greens, glowing turquoise flashes that appear illuminated from within rather than reflected from the surface. Many people assume the stone has been artificially enhanced when they first see it. Yet the color is real. That visual impact immediately captures attention, but it does not fully explain the fascination surrounding the gemstone. The deeper story lies in what Paraíba represents. Historically, prestige often depended on public recognition. A status symbol worked because everyone understood its value. The modern luxury landscape has become more nuanced. Increasingly, affluent collectors and knowledgeable buyers are drawn toward objects that communicate expertise rather than popularity. The ideal possession is no longer something everyone wants. It is something very few people understand. That distinction matters. When a luxury item becomes widely recognized, it gains popularity. When it remains difficult to obtain, difficult to explain, and difficult to replace, it gains prestige. Paraíba Tourmaline occupies that space almost perfectly. Its rarity is extraordinary. High-quality stones displaying the vivid neon coloration collectors seek remain exceptionally uncommon. Combined with the gemstone's unmistakable appearance, that scarcity creates an unusual dynamic. The stone feels both visually dramatic and culturally exclusive. One attracts attention, the other sustains desire. This helps explain why Paraíba has become increasingly admired among collectors, jewelry enthusiasts, and luxury buyers across America. The gemstone embodies a modern form of status built less on visibility and more on access. Not everyone can recognize it, not everyone can find it, and not everyone can explain why it matters. For certain buyers, that is precisely the appeal. The growing obsession with Paraíba reveals an important truth about contemporary luxury culture. Exclusivity has evolved. It is no longer only about ownership. It is about belonging to a conversation that most people have not yet discovered. Yet even the rarest modern gemstone faces one challenge: time. Because prestige can be created, popularity can be created, even rarity can become part of a trend. But one gemstone has accomplished something far more difficult. It has survived centuries of changing tastes, shifting markets, and endless competition, yet somehow remains one of America's greatest obsessions today. Number 1. Emerald. Most trends have an expiration date. A color becomes fashionable. A style becomes popular. A luxury item dominates headlines. And eventually, something new takes its place. History repeats the cycle endlessly. Yet every so often, something refuses to disappear. No matter how many trends emerge, no matter how many alternatives arrive, no matter how dramatically consumer tastes evolve, certain symbols endure. That is what makes emerald different. Unlike many gemstones on this list, emerald does not owe its popularity to novelty. It is not a hidden discovery. It is not an emerging trend. It is not a secret known only to collectors. In fact, that may be exactly why it stands at number 1. For thousands of years, emerald has occupied a unique position in human culture. Ancient rulers prized it. Royal families collected it. Empires traded for it. Generations separated by centuries somehow arrived at the same conclusion. There is something extraordinary about this stone. Its deep green color remains instantly recognizable across the world. But recognition alone does not explain its continued influence. The real explanation lies in trust. Modern consumers are surrounded by constant change. New products appear daily. New trends emerge every season. New obsessions rise and fall faster than ever before. In that environment, permanence becomes valuable. People naturally gravitate towards symbols that have already survived the test of time. Emerald represents exactly that. Unlike a temporary trend, its reputation was not built in a year, or a decade, or even a century. It was built across civilizations. That history creates a powerful psychological effect. When people look at emerald, they are not simply seeing a gemstone, they are seeing continuity, a connection between the past and the present. A reminder that true value does not always need to reinvent itself. This helps explain why emerald continues to attract Americans despite living in an era filled with endless alternatives. While many buyers seek individuality, authenticity, rarity, or wonder, emerald quietly offers something even more difficult to find: confidence. The confidence that comes from choosing something whose appeal has already been tested by generations. That is a form of luxury few modern trends can match. And perhaps that is the biggest lesson hidden inside this entire countdown. America's obsession with gemstones is not really about gemstones. It is about what those stones represent: identity, curiosity, discovery, authenticity, status, wonder. Each gemstone on this list reflects a different desire shaping modern culture. But emerald stands above them because it connects all of those desires into a single story. A story that has survived for centuries and shows no sign of ending anytime soon. The most interesting thing about these gemstones isn't how rare they are or how expensive they are. It's what they reveal. Some reflect a desire for individuality. Others reflect curiosity, authenticity, exclusivity, or the fear of missing something before everyone else does. Together, they tell a much bigger story. A story about how Americans are redefining luxury, value, and personal expression. So which gemstone surprised you the most, and which one deserves to be even higher on this list? Share your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoy exploring the stories, psychology, history, and hidden secrets behind the world's most fascinating gemstones, be sure to subscribe and join us for the next countdown.